Welcome to Levy Stories, where real-life emotions unfold. Before we dive into today's intense journey, if you believe in this power of true, raw stories, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Your support helps me continue to share stories that matter, stories that touch the heart. Now, let's begin. Some choices linger, haunting the corners of our hearts, refusing to fade away. There are instances that cling to your soul, haunting you with an intensity that lingers, no matter how desperately you try to escape. Believe me, I've made every effort to escape. 2 years have passed. 2 entire years since that fateful night. Since that choice was made. Since my younger brother innocently requested something so simple and seemingly innocent. And yet, somehow, that singular plea unearthed a hidden part of me, a longing I had never realized existed. The memories linger vividly, as if they were just moments ago. My stomach churned with a mix of longing and trepidation. The subtle quiver of my hands revealed a whisper of longing beneath the surface. The intensity of my heartbeat was so overwhelming, I felt certain he could sense it too. Yet, the most painful aspect wasn't the event itself. It transcended the emotions I experienced in that fleeting instant. The most painful moment was coming to terms with the fact that I let it unfold. I found myself unwilling to let it end. I convinced myself that it was merely a moment of solitude that led me here. I was merely seeking solace. It was not my fault. Yet, as darkness envelops me, the truth whispers softly in the silence. I embraced a decision. This is a decision that haunts me, leaving a lasting mark on my soul. This decision lingers in my mind, casting shadows whenever I gaze upon him, and perhaps, just perhaps, a fragment of my soul finds solace in the choices made. Have you ever found yourself drawn to something you knew you shouldn't pursue, yet the allure was too strong to resist? This is not due to a desire to cause harm to others. This was not done with malicious intent. Yet, in that fleeting instant, did everything align perfectly? I never imagined I would become the type of woman who dared to venture beyond that boundary. I never thought I would develop into the kind of woman who embraces emotions that were considered taboo. Yet, existence has a peculiar manner of prompting you to explore the depths of your true self. I once believed in my strength. I firmly believed that I was in control of my own emotions, guiding them with resolute certainty. I believed that I could establish boundaries and maintain my steadfastness, never permitting myself to cross them. This continued until I ultimately came to embrace it. Now, I must carry the burden of what transpired, amidst the hidden truths I hold close. Every time I catch a glimpse of my younger brother, my heart quickens, stirring feelings I can hardly contain. Is he experiencing this longing as well? Does he reminisce about that night with the same intensity as I do? Am I the only one ensnared in this relentless cycle of yearning and remorse? Perhaps you will come to see. Perhaps you'll look down upon me. Perhaps you'll see me as the most despicable soul imaginable. Perhaps you hold the truth in your hands. Yet, before you make your choice, it's essential to uncover the entire tale. It's essential to grasp the unfolding of events, the reasons behind them, and the aftermath that followed. Before we embark on this journey, may I pose a question to you? Have you ever found yourself in a moment where your heart yearned for something that was deemed off limits? Have you ever encountered a brief moment that completely altered your self-perception? If you've experienced this, please share your thoughts in the comments. Does anyone else share this perspective? If you crave more tales that stir the heart and awaken hidden passions, be sure to subscribe to Shocking Infidelity Saga. Believe me when I say, the present is merely the dawn of something profound. Allow me to share the beginning of this journey. It's curious how a life can appear so flawless on the surface. To an outsider, my husband and I appeared to be living the perfect life, seemingly untouched by the complexities of longing and unspoken yearnings. We enjoyed a cozy sanctuary, a sense of security, and a lifetime of shared moments together. They often remarked on my fortune, praising the man I called my husband. They were steadfast, diligent, and a reliable source of support. And I surrendered to their allure. I truly did. Yet, what remained hidden from the world, and even from my gaze, was the profound void that lingered between us, an uninvited presence at our shared table, whispering secrets of longing and unfulfilled desires. Initially, our union felt different, untouched by the complexities that now surround us. There was an undeniable intensity. Amidst the echoes of joy, a deeper longing stirred within. He gazed at me as if I were the sole woman in existence, igniting a spark of longing that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. Yet, as the days unfolded, The complexities of existence intertwined with our hearts. Life unfolded. Overwhelming emotions surged within me, and somewhere along the way, I lost the essence of being his partner and transformed into merely a duty he bore. The subtle details slipped away first. He would instinctively grasp my hand, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The spark in his gaze ignited a warmth within me each time I entered the space. The way he drew me into his embrace at night, driven by an undeniable longing to have me close. What was he feeling at that precise moment? In that moment, I found myself immersed in a whirlwind of feelings, caught in the intensity of something I knew I shouldn't pursue. She was a constant presence in his life, a companion in the mundane, a woman he lay beside, yet felt an aching distance from. I can't recall how much time has passed. I convinced myself it was just a part of the journey, a common thread woven through the fabric of years spent together. That love simmers, transforms, and evolves into something deeper, something more subdued. Yet, beneath the surface, I understood the truth, for a woman can sense when she has been cast aside. What was the most heart-wrenching aspect? I found no fault in him at all. I held myself accountable. Perhaps I had slipped into a mundane routine, lacking the spark of spontaneity. Perhaps the thrill that once defined me has faded into the shadows. Perhaps I was the source of the turmoil, so I concealed it deep within. I told myself that affection was unnecessary, that the sensation of being desired was something I could forego. I convinced myself that I had the strength to carry on without it. That was until my younger brother returned to the familiar embrace of home. He had vanished for what felt like an eternity, lost in the pursuit of knowledge, wandering the world, embracing the essence of existence. Our bond was undeniable as we navigated the complexities of our youth. He was the cherished youngest, brimming with vitality, perpetually trailing behind me, his eyes filled with admiration. But when he stepped across our threshold after all those years, he had transformed from that innocent child into someone entirely different. He had transformed into a man. It left me breathless. I find myself lost in a whirlwind of feelings, unsure of the reasons that pull at my heart. I could see the changes in him, unmistakably evident. I had glimpsed his essence through photographs and had felt the thrill of our voices intertwining over the phone. But encountering him face to face, witnessing the way he held himself now, the richness in his voice, and how his once youthful features had transformed into something more striking, more assured, overwhelmed me. And perhaps, in that fleeting instant, a long-buried yearning within me began to awaken. Yet, I buried it deep within. Absolutely. I did. He was my brother, someone who had always been by my side. Yet there were moments when I questioned the connection we shared. And yet, from the instant he stepped into the room, an undeniable spark lingered in the air, hinting at a deeper connection that stirred something long buried within me. Perhaps it was never him at all. Perhaps it was my heart that led me astray. Perhaps it was the intensity of his gaze, a gaze that pierced through the layers of my existence. Unlike the distant, apathetic stares I had come to accept from my husband, it was filled with a warmth that ignited something deep within me. Oh, how I had lost touch with that sensation. The atmosphere shifted the instant he stepped through the door. The silence had wrapped around me, heavy and suffocating, a stillness that felt almost oppressive. On many evenings, my husband found himself caught up in work long after the sun had set. He returned home, wearied and distant, hardly uttering a word, lost in his world as he consumed his meal, washed away the day, and surrendered to sleep. I had grown accustomed to that quietude, that emptiness, even in his tangible presence. Yet, what about my brother? He breathed vitality back into the home, awakening emotions long buried. He spoke. He let out a soft, knowing laugh, tinged with a hint of longing. He inquired about the moments that filled my day, the whispers of my thoughts, and the secrets of my dreams. He saw the little details, the subtle nuances I had long overlooked, the soft melody I hummed while preparing meals, the gentle motion of tucking my hair behind my ear when lost in contemplation, the deep sigh that escaped me when I believed I was alone in my thoughts. His gaze met mine, and in that moment, I was alive once more. Initially, I dismissed it as mere nostalgia. Undoubtedly, his presence stirred something deep within me. He was everything I shouldn't want. Yet, subtle moments unfolded, stirring deep emotions within me. These moments included the anticipation I felt for his return, the way he would gaze at me when he thought I was unaware, or the way his words seemed to carry a deeper weight, not just in their content, but in the tender inflection of his voice when he remarked on my beauty, the fleeting pause as if he were awakening to the truth of his own feelings, a truth that should have been silenced in that very instant. Yet I refrained, for within the depths of my being, hidden beneath layers of neglect, solitude, and yearning, there was a flicker of something I cherished. He ignited a spark within me, reminding me of my worth, making me feel seen and desired once more. And that was perilous. One evening lingers in my mind. As my husband toiled away into the night once more, I prepared dinner, arranged the table, and waited for him, just as I always did, my heart fluttering with a mix of anticipation and longing. As always, he sent a brief message, urging her not to wait for him. I lingered over those words, feeling an emptiness wash over me, neither shocked nor disheartened, just lost in a haze of indifference. As my brother entered the kitchen, his gaze met mine, and in that moment, he simply said, "Let's go out." It felt effortless, almost like a fleeting moment that held a deeper significance. And yet I hesitated, not from a lack of desire to attend, but because a deep, unspoken awareness stirred within me, signaling that this gathering transcended the ordinary bond of siblings. It was as if a hidden part of me had awakened, and perhaps in that instant, I ought to have declined. Yet I found myself unable to do so, for it was the first time in ages that someone desired to be with me. In a world filled with uncertainty, I found solace in this fact that someone chose me, and I was so hungry for love that I couldn't bring myself to refuse. With a fluttering heart, I rose, slipped on my coat, and stepped into the unknown alongside him. And that marked the dawn of it all. As I reflect on the past, a question lingers in my mind. Was such an event always destined to happen? Had there always been a hidden spark, yearning for the perfect time to emerge? Or was it merely my yearning to embrace life once more that led me to surrender? Perhaps it holds little significance. For the reality is that after that night unfolded, after I embraced that instant with him, there was no retreat, neither for me nor for him, and undeniably not for the events that followed. Are you curious about what unfolded next? Stay tuned, as this story is just getting started. That evening, that seemingly ordinary evening when I stepped out of my home and into his vehicle, I was blissfully unaware of the whirlwind of emotions I was about to unleash. I convinced myself it meant nothing, merely a dinner, a fleeting chance to break free from the suffocating silence that had enveloped my existence. Yet, buried within my heart, I believe I always understood. In that fleeting moment, as his gaze met mine from across the table, I sensed something profound. His eyes held a lingering softness, subtle yet charged, not overtly suggestive, but rich with an unvoiced connection. It was a silent acknowledgement, a delicate awareness that hung in the air between us, palpable and electric. We tread lightly, avoiding the brush of our skin, steering clear of lingering gazes, yet with each attempt to suppress it, the intensity only deepened, and then he made a heartfelt plea, so pure, so unassuming. I nearly chuckled at the absurdity of my reluctance. "Join me for the weekend," he whispered, his voice laced with an unspoken longing. He had an obligation, a commitment pulling him to another city, and the thought of facing it alone filled him with a sense of longing for companionship, as if it were the most natural choice. He asked if I should join him, perhaps in another life. Had circumstances shifted, had I transformed, I might have turned away. But the truth is, beneath it all, I yearned to embrace the moment. I longed to be the one he sought after. I longed to experience the thrill of being desired. And so I surrendered to the allure. The journey unfolded smoothly, a gentle ease enveloping me, with soft melodies weaving through the air. The windows creaked open, allowing the cool evening air to weave its way inside, stirring something deep within. In that fleeting moment, it felt like we were wrapped in a cocoon of safety, two souls embarking on a journey together, blissfully unaware of the shadows lurking just beyond our laughter. Yet, as he spoke of our youth, he unearthed memories long buried, moments that had slipped from my mind, stirring feelings I thought were lost to time. "Do you recall the way I used to trail behind you, captivated by your every move?" he inquired, a playful grin dancing at the edges of his mouth. I chuckled softly, a knowing smile crossing my lips. "You were the whisper of my heart, always lingering just out of reach." The memories linger, vivid and bittersweet. You would read to me under the soft glow of the night, even when your heart was elsewhere, even when the world beckoned you away. Yet, you always carved out those precious moments just for me. A rush of forgotten longing surged within me, constricting my heart with an intensity I hadn't anticipated. I had lost sight of the depth of his dependence on me, the way he once admired me, and the significance I held in his life. He spoke gently, a warmth in his tone, recalling how you stood by him when the world felt empty and cold. And then, in a moment I couldn't control, before the reality of the situation could sink in, I found myself caught between the pull of old memories and the tension of unspoken words. What was meant to be the source of solace, a gentle brush of a sibling's hand, transformed into something far more intense. Yet, as my fingers grazed his skin, an unspoken connection ignited, laden with intensity and uncharted emotions, and in that moment, a wave of fear washed over me. Unlike anything I had experienced since this journey began, I withdrew my hand abruptly, a nervous chuckle escaping as I cleared my throat. Someone had to be there for you, to embrace the unspoken connection that lingered between us. He smiled, yet a flicker of something deeper lingered in his eyes, an enigma waiting to be unraveled. In that instant, a rush of awareness flooded over me. I recognized the peril of our connection, the undeniable truth that the feeling was not merely a figment of my imagination, but a shared sensation that coursed between us, and yet I couldn't bring myself to halt it. The air was heavy with unexpressed feelings, lingering in the space that separated us. I allowed my thoughts to drift into uncharted territory as we reached the hotel, lingering just outside our rooms, the air thick with unspoken words. I allowed myself to embrace the gravity of the moment unfolding between us. Yet, I remained paralyzed, unable to intervene. I persuaded myself that the exhaustion, the endless road, the echoes of the past, and the bittersweet longing were all manipulating my thoughts. I convinced myself that with the dawn, all would return to their rightful place, that I would awaken untouched by these feelings, and that this was merely a fleeting lapse in my resolve. Yet, in the stillness of my solitude, shrouded by the shadows of an unknown hotel room, a gentle, tentative knock echoed at my door, and I felt it, a deep stirring within me before I even rose, before my hand even touched the handle. I sensed that the present was the pivotal moment, the one that would alter the course of everything. Despite this, I took the step through the threshold. Regret washes over me as I realize the weight of my choice. A choice that led me to a path I never intended to tread. In that moment, clarity washed over me. I have come to understand it at last. Yet, in that fleeting instant, within the stillness of the hotel room, mere inches apart, I observed his face transform from doubt to an unspoken yearning, something I hesitated to define. In that moment, notions of right and wrong faded into the background. I found myself reflecting on the depths of my emotions, the intensity of my desires, the sense of being selected, and the vibrant pulse of life within me. He lingered at the threshold, caught in a moment of hesitation. He lingered in the moment, his gaze locked onto mine, and I found myself returning his stare, caught in an unspoken connection. For a brief instant, I permitted myself to imagine the repercussions of overcoming the distance, of daring to get closer to you, and that alone was enough to send chills down my back. I took the only path that felt right in that moment. I masked my true emotions with a smile, concealing the heavy tension that lingered in the air and softly wishing him good night. And then I shut the door behind me. But I lay awake that night, consumed by a change that had occurred, an irreversible moment that lingered in the air. The following morning, I reassured myself that it was all in my head, that the intensity of his gaze was merely a figment of my imagination, a product of my solitude, my exhaustion, and my yearning for connection. I whispered countless reassurances to myself, anything to silence the undeniable truth that lingered in the shadows of my heart. I craved him, not in the way a sister should, but in a manner that defied explanation, that eluded justification. What was the most painful aspect of our relationship? I found myself questioning whether he shared the same unspoken connection. From that moment on, I became acutely aware of his words, the way they danced around me, the lingering gaze that seemed to hold unspoken promises, and the fleeting brush of his fingers on my shoulder as he walked by. So subtle, so pure, yet it ignited a fire within me that I couldn't ignore. I began to delve into the depths of my thoughts, unraveling the layers of my existence. Did I conjure this feeling in my mind? Was he merely expressing warmth? Was he truly at ease with me simply because I was his sister? Or was there a deeper longing hidden beneath the surface? I was unaware. Perhaps that was the most perilous aspect, as the ambiguity ensnared me within my thoughts, scrutinizing every nuance, every instant, every fleeting exchange, until I could no longer discern what was genuine and what was merely my yearning, distorting the truth. And then there was my husband, the man who was meant to see me, the one I envisioned in my quiet moments, the one who once ignited a spark in my heart, who made me feel cherished. Yet he remained oblivious to my existence, It wasn't the lingering moments in my conversations with my brother, nor the gentle tone that crept into my voice when I addressed him. It wasn't even the newfound care I took in my appearance that caught my attention. At first, it was a subtle shift, almost imperceptible. But one day, I found myself before the mirror, tilting my head just so, applying lipstick with delicate precision, smoothing down my dress with a sense of anticipation before stepping into the living room where my brother awaited. And I stood still, overwhelmed by the realization that I had never ventured into such depths for my husband. Never again. And the revelation struck me with an intensity that took my breath away. I was dressing for myself, igniting a spark within that had long been dormant. I was adorning myself for him. Guilt gnawed at my insides, yet it couldn't quell the fire within me. Each time I contemplated stepping back, each time I reminded myself that I should create space before it spiraled out of control, his smile would pierce through my resolve. Or his words would dance in the air, igniting laughter and a sense of being truly seen. And in that moment, the weight of guilt faded. For what was the harm in sharing words, in exchanging laughter, in embracing a fleeting sense of joy at last? I wasn't doing anything that felt wrong, yet the thrill of it all stirred something deep within me. I didn't want it to happen at this moment or just yet, and so I allowed it to unfold. The hushed whispers in the dimly lit kitchen, the bodies lingering in intimate proximity, ignite a spark of something unspoken. The shared laughter, the flirtatious banter, and the fleeting looks sent my heart racing. Feelings I desperately wished to suppress. The fleeting caresses, seemingly trivial, held profound significance. I yearned to convince myself it was all in my head, that he was merely my brother, that I was distorting something pure into something it could never be. Yet, there were those instances when I found it impossible to dismiss the way his gaze transformed the moment I entered the room, as if he had been anticipating my arrival all along. His pauses lingered in the air, each moment stretched as if he were weighing the gravity of his thoughts, cautious not to reveal too much of the longing that simmered beneath the surface. The moment his fingers lingered against mine as he passed me, the glass of wine felt charged and intentional, igniting a spark that was both thrilling and dangerous. And that filled me with dread, because if he sensed it, that meant this was more than a mere figment of my imagination. That signified its authenticity, and their genuine feelings carried weight. I found myself pulling away from him, or at least I attempted to. I convinced myself that distance was essential, that I had to put an end to this feeling before it spiraled into something irreversible. Yet, the space between us only intensified the ache, as my retreat drew his gaze ever closer, igniting a longing that was impossible to ignore. "Are you feeling all right?" One night, he posed the question to me. I nodded with an urgency that betrayed my inner turmoil. "Indeed, I am experiencing a slight sense of fatigue." His expression betrayed a lingering doubt. Then he whispered it, a secret imbued with longing and unsaid truths. "Have I gone too far?" And my heart shattered, yearning to express that. "No, you were perfect in every way." Yet, I found myself unable to do so. With a heavy heart, I merely shook my head, masking my true feelings with a fragile smile, and whispered, "It's nothing." But it was everything. In that moment, as his gaze pierced through the veil of our unspoken truths, I felt the weight of uncharted emotions stirring within me. This was the familiar struggle, the lingering doubt, the irresistible attraction that defies all reason. In that instant, I realized this was more than a fleeting notion. The present was a feeling that lingered, refusing to fade into the background. This moment necessitated a heartfelt decision, and I found myself questioning my strength to choose wisely, wondering if, beneath it all, I truly desired the right path. I should have known that fate would intervene and that we couldn't stay away from our feelings for each other. Temptation arrives uninvited, bursting through the threshold with an intensity that leaves no room for hesitation. It seeps in gradually, like whispers of longing slipping through a sealed barrier, and by the moment you become aware of its presence, it has already woven itself into your being, suffusing your very essence, rendering each breath incomplete without its intoxicating embrace. It unfolded on a Sunday, a day that held the weight of unspoken yearnings. The silence of the house enveloped everything, a stillness that hinted at unspoken longings and hidden truths. As the dawn broke and the world stirred, my husband slipped away for work. Just like every other day, his farewell was a whisper, barely touching the air between them. I hardly registered it at all. It was only my brother and I, lost in a world of our own. We had planned to embark on a mundane errand, a routine task that felt so ordinary. We lingered in silence, our gazes fixed on the road ahead, each of us acutely aware of the electric tension that hung between us, yet choosing to ignore it. Then, in a voice that trembled with unspoken longing, he finally let the words escape. I've held a deep admiration for you, one that stirs something profound within me. I faced him, my heart racing with surprise. What are you trying to say? His jaw clenched, caught in a struggle between restraint and the pull of something deeper. At last, he whispered, you have always been the one with unwavering strength. You have woven the threads of longing and connection into a tapestry of hidden truths. When I was younger, I thought you were untouchable, an unreachable power. He chuckled gently, a hint of disbelief in his eyes. In this moment, I find myself captivated by the depth of who you are, feeling an undeniable pull toward the extraordinary essence that you embody. I ought to have brushed it aside with a smile. I could have expressed something tender or dismissed it as absurdity. Yet, I refrained, his words entwined with a part of me long forgotten, a part that had been yearning and craving attention, and for a fleeting moment, I allowed myself to surrender to his words. The silence in the car enveloped them once more. The air was thick with unspoken tension, each breath a reminder of the longing that pulsed between us. Unexpectedly, an impulse propelled my fingers towards his hand. It was a deep-seated urge, a spontaneous reaction, an effortless gesture. Yet, as soon as my fingers brushed against his, the world around us transformed. In that moment, we remained entwined, neither of us willing to break the connection. We lingered in that moment, grasping tightly to a connection that was never meant to be ours. My heart raced, a wild rhythm echoing in my throat, as the heat of his skin pressed against me. The silence enveloped us, heavy and charged, filled with an unuttered longing that hung in the air, impossible to ignore. Time seemed to blur around us, whether it was mere seconds, fleeting minutes, or an eternity. I couldn't tell. In that moment, I hesitated, my hand lingering for just a heartbeat longer before retreating, as the weight of reality enveloped me completely. What had engulfed us? What was I feeling? This was my brother, a connection that stirred something deep within me, a longing that felt both exhilarating and forbidden. The situation felt so wrong, wasn't it? I cleared my throat, attempting a laugh that echoed the emptiness within me. Perhaps it's time for us to return. He remained silent. As he shifted the car into drive, I noticed the tension in his grip, his knuckles pale against the steering wheel, as if he were restraining a torrent of unspoken words and unfulfilled actions, a silent yearning hanging in the air between us. Fear consumed me. That night, a part of my soul yearned for him to do so. That night, I averted my gaze from the reflection that felt like a stranger. I stood there, gazing into my reflection, yearning for a glimpse of something, anything, that could awaken the essence of who I once was. Yet, she felt like a stranger to me now, for that woman would never allow her brother to grasp her hand in the shadows. She would have never desired it. Yet, I did, and now I could no longer mask the truth within me. I convinced myself it meant nothing, merely a fleeting lapse in judgment, a moment that would remain isolated and never resurface. Yet, deep down, I understood that when an experience resonates so profoundly, when it ignites a fire within, it's impossible to simply turn your back on it, even if reason urges you to do so. I persuaded myself that I was in control, that I could stop this, that nothing had happened, and that nothing would ever happen. Yet, the nature of control is quite intriguing. You believe you possess it, only to find it slipping away in an instant, leaving you in a whirlwind of longing and regret. In that instant, veiled by the darkness, I crossed a boundary from which I could not retreat. It began with a clash, not with him, but with my husband, though that distinction felt insignificant. Currently, every interaction with him seemed like a struggle, or even more painfully, a void of feeling. His gaze was devoid of anger or frustration. His gaze held a sense of detachment. It seemed as though my insignificance had diminished to the point where engaging with me was no longer worthwhile. It feels as though I have vanished from existence. Once more, I find myself lost in the depths of the night, consumed by the weight of my responsibilities. His voice was sharp and detached as he fastened his shirt, casting only a fleeting glance in my direction. Once more, the weariness in my voice was unmistakable, and I made no efforts to conceal it. The path before me seems predetermined, leaving no space for alternatives. I walked away. There was a fleeting, sharp echo of longing. Every moment presents a crossroads of possibility. That moment caused him to hesitate, if only for an instant. In that moment, Silence enveloped the room as he seized his keys, the weight of unspoken words lingering in the air. Before he stepped out into the unknown, chose not to close the distance between us. He never turned his back, simply vanished. This has always been the case. I felt invisible, deserving of no more than a fleeting moment of attention. I stood there, gazing at the closed door, as the heaviness of solitude enveloped me, wrapping around my heart like an inescapable shroud. A deep yearning surged within me, begging for release. Tears welled up inside me, yearning for release. Yet above all else, I yearned to experience a profound sensation. Everything. Suddenly, a voice whispered from behind me, stirring something deep within. "Are you feeling all right?" I pivoted, and there he stood, a figure cloaked in the shadows of longing. My younger brother. A spark of nostalgia and longing stirs feelings I thought were buried deep within me. He was the only person within these walls who had a true glimpse of my essence. I knew I should have turned back. I ought to have claimed that everything was okay. However, I found myself revealing my innermost thoughts to him. I revealed myself to him, shedding the facade of the dutiful wife, the woman who had long concealed her true feelings beneath a veneer of acceptance, only myself. And in that moment, his gaze held a weight that made me feel whole, as if I were everything he ever wanted. It seemed as though he had always valued me, unaffected by the passing of time. "Step outside with me," he urged, his voice laced with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "It's time to breathe in the world anew." My heart wavered. "I find it difficult to think." "Please." His voice held a whisper of longing. This was only a fleeting moment, and I should have turned away. Yet, I refrained. The ache of solitude felt too heavy to bear this evening. In that moment, I found myself drawn to him, unable to resist the pull of something deeper and more intense. The night air was electric, infusing the world with a heightened sense of awareness, where every detail pulsed with intensity. We lingered on the porch steps, a heavy silence enveloping us, each lost in our thoughts. The silence that lingered between us felt charged with unspoken longing. It lingered in the shadows, a silent promise of what could be. And then, his voice broke the silence. "Your current state pains me deeply." I released a breath laced with uncertainty. "I find it difficult to accept this part of myself." He lingered in silence, lost in a world of unspoken thoughts. And then, gently, as if the words were a secret meant only for me, I heard him whisper, "He doesn't deserve you." I faced him, my heart racing with surprise. "Please, don't say that." Why not embrace the thrill of our yearning, even if it flirts with the boundaries of what is considered acceptable? His voice held a quiet intensity. "It's an undeniable reality." I parted my lips to protest, to reveal that my union was fraught with complexities, that the situation was far from straightforward. But then I noticed the intensity of his gaze upon me. He was not looking at me in a familial manner. Never again. And that was the moment of awakening. In that instant, the final barrier within me shattered. For so long, I had woven a tapestry of self-deception, believing I was unworthy of love, overlooked, and unseen. Yet within his gaze, I felt profoundly seen. In that moment, swept away by an overwhelming urge, I found my hand moving toward him, driven by a force I couldn't resist. In that fleeting instant when our skin met, an undeniable truth surged within me. This was the moment. At that moment, I came to the realization that there was still a chance to turn back. Yet, mend this, continue to mask the incident as mere solitude. This was a brief, intoxicating lapse of restraint. Yet, I held on tightly, and he felt the same way. I can't recall who took that initial step. Perhaps it was my heart that led me astray. Perhaps it was him all along. In that fleeting moment, our eyes locked, breaths quickened, hearts raced, and suddenly, I found myself enveloped in his embrace. It was a moment charged with unspoken longing. It was something profound. It was an intense clash of feelings. Years of yearning, separation, and suppressed feelings collided in a tumultuous wave. His hands clutched my back, drawing me closer as if he feared the moment would slip away. My fingers clutched his shirt, a desperate grip that spoke of longing and unspoken yearnings. And then, his forehead pressed against mine, and I felt his breath, warm and trembling. We were on the brink of something profound, so near, yet I found myself drawn in deeper. Yet, in the depths of my turmoil, I found solace in a higher power. I yearned for his lips to meet mine. I longed for him to, just as the moment approached and the final barrier crumbled, I found my way back to who I truly was. I recoiled, gasping for air, my heart racing so fiercely that clarity slipped through my fingers. "No," I breathed softly. I found myself lost in a conversation that blurred the lines between him and the depths of my soul. His hands fell from my waist as if they had been scalded by an uncontainable fire. He gazed at me, his face revealing a tumult of guilt, uncertainty, and an unspoken longing. The temptation was thrilling. This sensation stirred every fiber of my being. "Forgive me," he murmured, his voice trembling with unspoken longing. I hesitated, retreating within myself. "We shouldn't." Yet the words hung in the air, unspoken and heavy with longing. In reality, I found myself reluctant to admit that we were unable to pursue it. I felt compelled to admit that we should not continue, and that was even more heart-wrenching, because it signified that, beneath the surface, I understood this was far from finished. This was far from being finished. That night, a whirlwind of longing and unspoken yearnings consumed my mind, preventing me from sleeping. The memory lingered in my mind, a vivid echo of his touch, the warmth of his body so close to mine, and the intensity of his gaze that seemed to ignite something deep within me. Yet, each time I convinced myself it was a mistake and that such moments would remain in the past, I found myself drawn back into the depths of longing. Deep down, I was aware of the truth I was concealing. Once you step beyond that boundary, the allure of what lies beyond becomes an intoxicating temptation, making it nearly impossible to resist the pull to venture further. As dawn broke, I felt an undeniable shift in the air, a stirring that whispered of change. This was not a transformation that would attract the attention of others, yet deep within me, within us, a profound change had taken place. And yet, no one dared to embrace it. I turned away from him. It began as an unplanned encounter. It was an undeniable pull, a yearning that stirred deep within. As I emerged from my sanctuary that morning, the sight of him in the kitchen, oblivious and lost in his routine, sent a shiver through me. His back was turned, casually stirring his coffee, and in that instant, time seemed to stand still. My heart pounded within my chest, a wild rhythm that threatened to overwhelm me. In that instant when he turned to face me, I felt the weight of unspoken longing in his gaze. I would relive the echoes of last night. This is the story of what almost came to pass. I was taken aback by what actually happened, and I found myself unprepared for such an awakening. With a heavy heart, I pivoted and stepped back into the sanctuary of my room. I felt like a timid soul. The remainder of the day unfolded in a haze of unspoken longing. Silence enveloped us. Not quite. Only the essential phrases, the shallow exchanges that barely skim the depths of feeling, are present. "Please hand me the salt. Will you be taking the car today?" "Thank you." Yet the atmosphere surrounding us was heavy, alive with the weight of unsaid emotions. Each fleeting moment our eyes met. A spark ignited within me, sending a thrilling shiver down my spine, leaving me breathless and yearning for more. The air around me seemed to thicken, suffocating my spirit. It felt as though I was teetering on the edge, and if I didn't act soon, I would shatter into a million pieces. My husband became aware, not in the manner that haunted my thoughts, not in a manner that would provoke inquiries I couldn't satisfy. However, he did so in his own special way. His gaze lingered on me with an intensity that stirred something deep within, igniting a spark of longing that felt both thrilling and dangerous. This sensation was undeniably present. Amidst the turmoil of longing, "Are you all right?" he inquired abruptly, his fork suspended in the air, caught in a moment of hesitation. I masked my true feelings with a smile. Indeed, I was experiencing a profound sense of exhaustion. He lingered on my gaze, as if searching for something hidden beneath the surface. And then, in a fleeting moment, he released it all. He had done this countless times before, and that should have filled me with a sense of liberation. Yet, it only fueled a deep-seated anger within me. The man who should have understood the depths of my soul remained blind to my true essence, and the man who was never meant to see me noticed every hidden longing within. Time slipped away. The tension lingered, unyielding and palpable. It only deepened. I found myself pulling away from him even further. I chose the winding paths of my home, deliberately steering clear of his presence. I paused in my car, capturing a fleeting moment before venturing into the world beyond. He would pretend to be distracted whenever he was in close proximity. Yet, he wove a tapestry of challenges that made the journey anything but simple. Something both thrilling and dangerous drew him to me. Should anything arise, he would be ready. It was as if he lingered in a suspended moment, caught between longing and the thrill of the unspoken. He was eagerly anticipating the moment when he would finally unravel. I yearn for the moment when I can no longer conceal the truth of the transformation within me. And then, under the veil of darkness, I finally succumbed. As I stood in the kitchen, the remnants of dinner scattered around me. A wave of nostalgia washed over me, stirring something deep within. The house was silent, the stillness wrapping around me like a shroud as I lingered in the shadows, alone with my thoughts. Or at least, that was my belief. In an instant, his presence enveloped me. The feeling of closeness hovers just out of reach. I long for the intimacy that eludes me. Silence speaks volumes, simply present. With my eyes shut tight, I clutched the edge of the counter, feeling the rush of unspoken longing surge within me. "It feels like you're keeping your distance from me." His voice was soft, yet it carried an undeniable depth that resonated within me. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my emotions pressing against my chest. I find myself lost in a haze, unable to grasp the essence of your words. The breath was caught in the depths of longing. The soft chuckle carried a weight of longing. "You truly do?" The silence hovered around us, heavy and charged, like a secret awaiting revelation. And then, I must uncover the truth. My throat tightened with an unquenchable longing. "Do you feel that way?" He lingered in uncertainty. And then, when he spoke again, his voice was a soft whisper, laden with unspoken longing. Rawer. If it were only me, everything would be different. I spun around in a whirlwind of unexpected emotions. This happened all at once. Something drew us together in a thrilling and dangerous way. It feels undeniable now, a connection that transcends reason and logic. His gaze lingered on mine, filled with unspoken longing, and for the first time in days, I allowed myself to gaze upon him, truly gaze upon him. The way his jaw tightened, the way his hands clenched into tight fists revealed a struggle within, as if he were battling the overwhelming urge to give in to something he knew he shouldn't. His lips parted, a silent yearning lingering in the air, as if words danced on the edge of his tongue but remained unspoken. And in that fleeting instant, the temptation to deceive lingered in the air. I wish I had chosen to deceive. I wish I had said it meant nothing whatsoever. I regret not realizing its significance. It was merely a fleeting error, a lapse in judgment, and we should erase it from our memories entirely. Yet, I refrained. It was never solely about him. It was I who felt the pull of something deeper, something that stirred within me and awakened long-buried feelings that I dared not acknowledge. And he felt it deep within him. We both experienced it, and that was the most intoxicating thing of all. We remained frozen in that moment, caught in a web of unspoken longing. Silence enveloped us, heavy with unspoken truths. The atmosphere surrounding us felt charged, heavy with unspoken longing. I could feel it stirring within me again. I could feel the gradual tug of longing. The pull of longing is inescapable. It feels as though the universe itself is conspiring to keep us apart. And may the heavens guide me. Doubt lingered within me, questioning whether I possessed the courage to resist its pull. Yet, there came the sound of footsteps. In a distant corner of the corridor, there was the soft sound of a door slowly parting, revealing what lies beyond. And in an instant, the enchantment shattered. I found myself retreating, overwhelmed by a rush of conflicting feelings. He averted his gaze, a storm of unspoken feelings swirling within him. All the words we had almost whispered vanished from his mind, disappeared. That night, I lay in bed, gazing at the ceiling, my heart pounding fiercely, as if it were yearning to escape the confines of my chest. For so long, I convinced myself that the past was nothing but a misstep. I believed that we could overcome it. This could never happen again. Yet, at this moment, at last, the truth unveiled itself to me. This feeling was here to stay. The connection we share is intensifying with each passing moment, no matter how it started or what it has transformed into. And if I let my guard down, if we both let our hearts lead us astray, we risk shattering everything we held dear. I persuaded myself that I could heal this shattered fragment of my heart. I thought that by maintaining my distance, by silencing the way my heart responded to him, and by burying those feelings deep enough, they would eventually fade into nothingness. Isn't that how it should unfold? You have erred. You feel it deep within you. And then you find your way back before it spirals into something irreversible. How about a deeper longing that dared to awaken the heart in ways it had never known? What if the error lies outside of the instance itself? What if the error lies in yearning for that fleeting instant? That yearning was the true transgression of my heart. It was not about what had transpired. Yet, the truth lingered within me. I craved for it to continue. The undeniable truth is that my heart still yearned for him. Rest eluded me. Each night, I found myself wide awake, gazing at the ceiling as my mind spiraled through a whirlwind of longing and unspoken yearnings. Is it time to reveal my truth to my husband? Is that truly the path I should take? Could it purify my soul, or would it shatter everything in its wake? Could it bring about a change for the better, or would it merely bring me solace while leaving others in turmoil? That was the undeniable reality. If I were to share my truth, it would be for the sake of my heart, not his. I would be the intended recipient. It would be intended to calm my troubled heart. I want to shift the weight of my concealed truth onto him, thereby liberating myself from its oppressive hold. And wasn't that just as self-serving? Wasn't it more profound? I explored every possibility in my mind. If I revealed my truth to him, how would he react? Would he raise his voice? Would he shed tears? Might he eventually acknowledge the extent of my aspirations? Would he dare to battle for my heart? Or would he simply turn his back and leave? Would he release me as effortlessly as he had allowed everything else to fade away between us? I was torn between the answers, each one more daunting than the last. And then there was my brother, a presence that stirred something deep within me. What should I do about him? Should we pretend that he only existed in our minds? Shall we act as if those emotions never stirred within us? Will I act as if I didn't make the first move toward him? Should I pretend that I refrained from embracing him? How could I possibly forget him when he lingered so close? He was the sole spark that ignited my spirit, lingering in my heart far longer than I dared to acknowledge. Should I have severed all ties with him entirely? Is it possible for me? And even if I had the chance, would I truly desire it? The most painful aspect wasn't the remorse. It was a yearning. Despite the turmoil within me, despite the relentless reminders of my moral compass urging me to turn away, I found myself grappling with feelings I didn't fully understand, but I knew it was time to confront them and move forward with clarity. His voice lingered in my thoughts, a haunting melody I longed to hear again. The ache of his gaze lingered in my heart, a bittersweet reminder of what once was. I longed for the moments when he awakened a sense of authenticity within me once more. That was the most heart-wrenching aspect of it all. I made an effort. I truly did. I endeavored to embody the partner my husband truly deserved. I prepared the dishes that he loves most. I inquired about the details of his day. In the stillness of the night, I found myself reaching out for him, yearning and longing, as if my very soul was pleading for him to awaken something deep within me. I silently prayed that he could feel the urgency of my heart, the unspoken wish for him to illuminate the reasons behind my choices, the path I had taken, and the bond we shared. Yet he chose not to. He simply rolled over, whispered a weary complaint, and surrendered to slumber. As I lay there next to him, my gaze fixed on the shadowy ceiling, I felt my heart shatter, revealing the depths of longing within me. In that moment, clarity washed over me. I was acutely aware of the truth I had been desperately attempting to suppress. It was more than the unraveling of my marriage. I thought I had released it completely, and I found myself questioning if I truly desired its return. What comes next? What remains? Have I continued to wear this mask? Have I trapped myself in this illusion long enough to lose the essence of something deeper? Or did I surrender? Did I surrender entirely, aware that once I took that leap, there would be no turning back? I was unaware. I remain uncertain. Yet, in that instant, when I ceased to resist and surrendered completely, everything began to unravel in ways I never anticipated. So now I implore you, what choices would you have made? Have you ever found yourself in a moment where feelings intertwined with the boundaries of morality? Did your heart yearn for something that your mind cautioned against? For so long, I deluded myself into believing I possessed the strength to resist. I held the reins of my destiny. I could yearn for something so deeply and yet remain still, trapped in the shadows of my own longing. Yet, I found myself mistaken. Desire is a powerful force that compels us to move. When desire ignites within you and you allow yourself to yearn, it irrevocably sets in motion the consequences. So, should I have confided in my husband? Should I have turned away the instant that initial flame ignited within me? Could I have pulled away sooner, before the boundaries faded into uncertainty? Could I have pulled away sooner, before the emotions became overwhelming and impossible to hide? Could it have truly changed anything? Was such an event inevitable from the start? Despite my efforts to resist it, was this inevitable from the start? Please share your thoughts with me below. Your thoughts are essential to me. I long to know what you feel. Even now, after all that has transpired, I find myself lost in the depths of uncertainty, yearning for clarity that remains just out of reach. Perhaps this state of longing will be my fate for eternity. However, there is one thing I know for sure. Loneliness can be a perilous companion. It quietly infiltrates, surprising you. It seeps into your very essence. A gradual embrace that goes unnoticed until it has woven itself into the fabric of your being. And when that moment arrives, when you awaken to the profound void enveloping you, you'll find yourself yearning to fill it with anything that stirs your soul, even if it means yearning for what is beyond your grasp, even if it leads to shattering what can never be restored. For certain missteps, the shadows linger, refusing to fade into the past. They pursue you with an intensity that stirs something deep within. They envelop your very essence. And the most challenging aspect isn't the actions you took, it's the lingering ache that follows. If there's one lesson to glean from my journey, it's this. Never allow yourself to reach a state of such profound emptiness that you find yourself seeking affection in the shadows of desire. Your world will irrevocably transform when you take that step and embrace what lies beyond the boundaries. Each time I catch a glimpse of my younger brother, a question lingers in my mind. Does he feel the weight of it as I do, or is he merely a master of illusion? If you crave more astonishing tales that stir the heart and awaken hidden passions, be sure to subscribe to Shocking Infidelity Saga. Believe me when I say this book is merely the start of something profound. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. If it touched you, don't forget to like and subscribe to Levy Stories. Your support means the world to me and encourages me to bring more impactful, real-life stories just like this one. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next video.